broadcast on the parliamentary elections on DD India, the great Indian election. This is the ultimate election year as there are more than 50 elections affecting half the planet's population. Many of the outcomes could resonate around the world, whether it's a change in leadership or a chance for incumbents to further cement their grip on power. On the show today, we take a look at why does Northeast matter as India decides. Well, Arunachal Pradesh is a state from the northeast part of India. The state has Lok Sabha and Assembly elections in one go on the 19th of April. The state is also known as the land of the dawn-lit sun because of its geographical positioning in the country as it receives the first sunlight. Arunachal Pradesh and its 886,000 voters gets ready as India decides.
Arunachal Pradesh, also referred to as the land of the dawn-lit mountains, is the easternmost part of India and is first state of the country to witness the rising sun. Situated at the northeastern extremity of India, bordering Myanmar, China and Bhutan, this stunning region boasts an astounding variety of flora and fauna that are guaranteed to entice any traveller. Arunachal Pradesh's deep woods are home to more than 500 endangered orchid species. The region is beautiful with gurgling waterfalls, glistening rivers and foggy hills. The ancient Hindu epics like Mahabharata and the Kalika Purana both make references to Arunachal Pradesh. In the 2024 general elections in Arunachal Pradesh, 14 candidates are in the fray for the 2 Lok Sabha or lower house seats in the Indian Parliament, which will go to the polls on April 19 in a single phase. Besides the general elections to the 60 state assembly seats is also being held in this northeastern hill state on April 19. In the last state assembly elections, the Bharatiya Janata Party emerged victorious, bagging 41 seats. Arunachal Pradesh is spread over an area of over 83,000 square kilometers and has a total population of 1.38 million. Of this, 886,000 are registered voters, which includes over 437,000 male voters, more than 449,000 female, and 5 voters belong to the third gender community. During the 2019 general elections, Bharatiya Janata Party won both the Arunachal Lok Sabha seats, with incumbent Union Minister Kiran Rijiju emerging victorious in one. Besides BJP, the other key political players in Arunachal Pradesh state in northeast India are Indian National Congress, Janata Dal United, and People's Party of Arunachal. As Arunachal Pradesh and its 886,000 voters go to the biggest electoral exercise this year, the votes will contribute in deciding the future of leadership in the country. Election Desk, DD India.
Well, 3 northeastern states on our election radar this evening on the great Indian elections. Unique thing about of the 3 to have Lok Sabha as well as Assembly elections. And that's what we're going to look at. How does it make a difference, especially when you have both the elections going together, especially when it comes to issues, national issues, regional issues, local issues, how do they affect the voters? A quick look at number crunching when it comes to northeast of India, starting first up with Arunachal Pradesh that we are speaking about. Lok Sabha Assembly elections, one go 19th of April. You've got 2 Lok Sabha seats, 60 Assembly seats. So it's a battle there. The voters are spoiled for choice when it comes to options that they have. The Lok Sabha narrative 2014 split wide open between the Congress and the BJP. 2019, there is a change in the narrative. BJP has managed to win both the seats. Are we looking this time around at that position that the BJP has had in 2019, a consolidation on that? The voting percentage, much above the national average. Remember, the entire Northeast, you will see the voting percentage is much, much higher than the national voting average that was 67% in 2019. The Assembly results 2019, 2014, the BJP picked 11, a mammoth jump, almost you can say 3.5 times more result in 2019, 41. The Congress, the biggest loser, 42-4. Independents and others having their role to play, especially in the northeastern part of India. Remember, northeast of India throws, very interesting results when it comes to independents entering the election fray. National average, the assembly elections almost there, very much on the lines that people are expected to vote, especially in the northeastern part of India. You have a much higher percentage when you go to Meghalaya or, for that matter, Sikkim. The candidates there in the fray, you've got Kiran Rijiju, Minister for Earth and Science there, this time around in the election fray from Arunachal West. You've got Namam Tuki, former Chief Minister of the state, back in the election ring, taking on Kiran Rijiju there. It's a battle that many say could see, it could be a pretty close contest, but I think the local or the regional force there, the GSP, Toko Sheetal, could throw some interesting numbers purely in terms of how the votes could get divided between the two big candidates in the fray. Arunachal East, Tapir Gao, the BJP state president there in the election fray. You've got Bande Mili from the ADP and Bosiram Siram from the Congress. So it's a good, interesting mix that you would see, especially when it comes to Arunachal Pradesh, and Arunachal Pradesh could throw some interesting numbers purely in terms of how the Northeast decides to vote. Remember, there are 25 seats in the Northeast, if you put Assam together with the Seven Sisters and Sikkim together. So 25 seats. The BJP, the big picture, the big narrative that we have all been hearing, Hemanta Biswa Sarma talks about 23 of the 25 possible for the BJP. But for that to happen, there are two other states that we are analyzing this evening. One is Sikkim, which goes to polls along with the Lok Sabha assembly seats in that particular state. Also Meghalaya, that could throw some interesting battle, especially between Shillong and Tura. Watch the report. We're going to come back with more number crunching.
Situated in the eastern Himalayas, the northeast Indian state of Sikkim is known for its scenic locations, Buddhist monasteries and biodiversity. Spread over an area of 7,000 square kilometers, Sikkim shares India's international borders with Nepal, Bhutan and Tibet. It also houses the majestic Kanchenjunga, the world's third highest peak. Tourists from all over India flock to the state's capital, Gangtok, which is a famous hill station. In 1950, Sikkim became a protectorate of India. It became an Indian state in 1975. In the 2024 general elections, Sikkim, which has one Lok Sabha or lower house seat in the Indian Parliament, will go to polls in a single phase on April 19th. Notably, the general elections and the elections to Sikkim's 32-seat state assembly are being held simultaneously. Sikkim has over 0.4 million voters, out of which 0.2 million are men, 0.2 million are women, while 5 belong to the third gender. The state is currently governed by the Sikkim Krantikari Morcha in an alliance with the Bharatiya Janata Party. Other parties in the fray include the Sikkim Democratic Front. In the 2019 general elections, Sikkim's lone Lok Sabha seat was backed by the SKM. Observers are closely monitoring the polls in Sikkim due to its position as a strategic border state. Election Desk, TD India.
As the abode of clouds, the northeastern Indian state of Meghalaya is renowned for its natural beauty. Spread over an area of over 22,000 square kilometers, the state, which shares its borders with the hill state of Assam in the north and India's neighbor Bangladesh in the south, has over 70% of the state covered by forest. The state is also home to one of the world's wettest places, Moss and Ram. Its capital, Shillong, which was called the Scotland of East by the British, is a popular hill station. Meghalaya's pristine landscape attracts tourists from all over India. The state's population mainly comprises 3 tribes, the Geros, Khasis and Jantia. Meghalaya hosts some of the most marvelous wonders of nature, including the living root bridges, which are formed of living plant roots. It is also home to some of the most rare orchids. In the 2024 general elections, the state, which has 2 Lok Sabha or lower house seats in the Indian Parliament, is going to polls in a single phase on April 19th. Meghalaya has over 2 million voters, out of which over 1 million are men, over 1.1 million are women, and 3 belong to the third gender. Coming to the state's current political scenario, it is governed by the National People's Party with the support of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Other parties in the political arena are the Indian National Congress, the United Democratic Party, and the Trinamool Congress. Looking back at the 2019 election results in Meghalaya, of the total 2 seats, the NPP and the Congress bagged 1 seat each. Now, though just 2 seats, Meghalaya is set to see an interesting multi-cornered fight, and it may not be just a straight fight between the BJP and Congress-backed alliances. With 10 candidates contesting and small local players eyeing the political pie, a lot is at stake for all the parties in the fray.
Well, the election battle in the Northeast is just getting started. Remember, there are 22 states and union territories that go to polls in just one single phase. Meghalaya, Sikkim, both, having a similar story. They go to polls in the first phase, and elections and EVM machines would seal the fate of the candidates there in the fray. A quick look at Sikkim in particular. Sikkim phase 1 elections, 1 seat that is there in Sikkim. Also, assembly elections in Sikkim that take place around the same time. And this is how the Lok Sabha election results of 2014 and 2019 have been. You've got the Sikkim Krantikari Morcha and the Sikkim Democratic Front having a big role to play. 2014, it was the SDF that managed to pick the seat. 2019, the SKM has regained the seat. Looking at percentages on how voting percentage has been, as always, 81%, almost a little over 15% when it comes to the national average of 67 that India has clocked. Assembly elections, you've got a fight between the SDF and the SKM, and this is where it becomes interesting. How do these regional forces, how do they find a footing, especially with the big national players, the Congress and the BJP there in the election fray in Sikkim. 22-15, things have moved a bit 5 years later, but it could be an interesting contest that we could have an interesting battle for winning the voters' minds there or capturing the voters' imagination that we could see in these elections. 78% of voting, there has been a dip 5 years ago. The Election Commission leaving no stone unturned this time around to make the votes count. The candidates in the fray for that lone assembly seat in Sikkim, you've got Dinesh Chandra Nepal from the BJP, you've got Indrahang Suba from the SKM. The SKM candidate here, remember, is the sitting member of parliament. So he has a tough fight against the 2 national parties, the Congress and the BJP, and we could see some interesting numbers in terms of when the results unfold on how the regional force is a force to reckon with against the national players. Shifting focus now to Meghalaya, on how Meghalaya has voted across the last 10 years. Meghalaya, 2 seats, that's one is Shillong, the other is Tura. 2 seats that go to polls in the first phase. The Congress managed to win 1, repeated it in 2019. Vincent Pala winning that seat. A tough fight that he had, but he managed to win that seat in 2014 and 19. Can he repeat that again? That's the big question. The voting percentage, not as high as you would see in the other northeastern state, but clearly voting is pretty high. And, once post 6 o'clock, you would see the numbers actually, when the Election Commission puts those numbers together, you see the numbers generally swell post that. Assembly elections, the BJP picked up 2, the BJP's managed to win 2. The Congress there has been a faction, a splinter group that's been created, and the NPP, that's an offshoot of the NCP, P.A. Sangma's son, Conrad Sangma there, leading this particular NPP front, and the NPP front is the government, the state government there, the Chief Minister Conrad Sangma. And there will be some interesting numbers purely in terms of how this particular election plays out, because the NPP is a coalition partner of the NDA, and that's where this particular election becomes very interesting. A look at the election voting percentage, assembly elections, when you look at the national elections as vis-a-vis the assembly elections, the voting percentage almost jumps up another 14%. So you see very high voter turnout in the northeast. The two seats, the candidates in the fray, especially Shillong, you've got Vincent Pala, the sitting MP, in contention. You've got Ampreen Lindo. Ampreen Lindo was with the Congress, is now moved on to the NPP, and is a candidate that's, and then you've got another regional force, the UDP, that's going to give a tough competition to Vincent Pala and also the NPP. Tura, you've got Agatha Sangma, P.A. Sangma's daughter, one of the youngest parliamentarians at the age of 29. She entered parliament, and she also became a minister then in 2009. And it's a battle of Sangmas there. If one takes a look at this particular Tura seat, it's generally the Sangmas that call the shots, and it's a battle between three Sangmas there for that particular seat of Tura. Time now for us to slip into a break. On the other side, we're going to take a look at how these northeastern states and what do they bring to the table as India decides.
Wherever news breaks, whatever it takes.
Connecting corners, cutting across continents.
Stories that matter from across the globe.
Accurate, authentic journalism that serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Poll Pulse tracks the pulse of the poll-bound southernmost Indian state of Tamil Nadu.
Voting is our responsibility.
This is a big fight between BJP and India alliance.
Will you vote?
Yeah, power of democracy. This is a huge.
BJP is trying her best, for the past 10 years under the flagship of Sri Narendra Modi government.
The 2024 Lok Sabha polls in Tamil Nadu are witnessing the battle royale between DMK, AIADMK and the BJP.
Well, as we get crunching into why Northeast matters, three questions for the evening. The first one, have the developmental projects in Northeast bridged the gap, especially between Delhi and the Northeast? Second, will local issues hold sway over national issues in this election? Final, will national parties be able to shine in the Northeast? Well, to get that discussion going, I've got two eminent guests joining us this evening on the show. I've got first in the studios, I've got Y. Rupachandra, senior journalist, joining us from the Northeast. I've got Shubhimal Bhattacharya here in the studios, a Northeast expert, a columnist there, joining us to take this deliberation forward. Let me first come to you, Shubhimal. How does one see this particular election? It's a battle, especially when it comes to the Northeast. Hemanta Biswa Sarma talking about 23 out of 25 possible. How do you see the Northeast when it comes to developmental projects that has taken place over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I think that's the first question that you put. So the extent of development is very visible all across the Northeast. When you look at the railways, when you look at the roadways, when you look at the shipping related activities, there is a lot of connectivity that has happened, and because of which a lot of entrepreneurial ventures are also coming up. So I think that visible development activities that is there, and the presence of the Prime Minister and his ensuring that every union minister is seen there every 15 days. So I think that has made a lot of difference.
Okay, that has made a lot of difference. Let's also get a voice from the ground there. Y. Rupachandra joining us. how do you see this? The bridge that exists between Delhi and that exists between Northeast. Do you see that bridge, being bridged by especially the government in Delhi?
I think the BJP government has made a very big push to actually highlight the developmental issues in the Northeast. It's done a lot of things and it's announced a lot of things, but unfortunately there are, at the ground there are things which have not been completed, which of course is impacting its image here also. But that said, I would say the BJP's approach to the Northeast by and large have been quite successful. If you look at the easternmost part of the country, for example, Manipur, if you take, the Manipur has been actually talking a lot about the Act East policy. It was looking forward to having this Look East policy turn into Act East policy. It was looking to serve as support.
Okay, Shubhimal, there is Lok Sabha elections, there is assembly elections, especially in Arunachal and also Sikkim. So, do the voters somewhere can, bifurcate between the two when they come to vote? Or it's the same sentiment that drives you to, cast your vote in both the boxes?
Well, if you pick up both the states, Arunachal, it has been, whichever way the Lok Sabha or the assembly remains. Sikkim, it was different. But this year it is very interesting in Sikkim also, because BJP has gone and done very heavy campaigning, and if you see today also they have released a manifesto that covers a lot of things, including putting up a regional medical college, putting up an IIM. Now, but that apart, the extent to which the tourism infrastructure has come up in the state and the various issues around corruption and all for the present government, the Sikkim Krantikari Morcha, Prem Tamang-led government, and the Sikkim Democratic Front under Mr. Chamling, I think there is a fight. So how does BJP do in that? That would be very interesting, and I am sure they are going to gain a lot of grounds. So in the assembly, they will make their mark. But it might not be directly related even to the Lok Sabha pattern of it. There's only one seat.
Okay, you mentioned, let's also take a look at Meghalaya. How's Meghalaya poised? You've got Condat Sangma, the NPP that's an offshoot of the NCP that took place, almost 10 years ago. But do you see Conrad, especially the Battle of Sangmas that one looks at in Tura? How do you see that shape?
Well, Tura is a Garo bastion. And interestingly, all three are Sangmas this time, the candidates. Between the Garos, between the Sangmas and the Maraks, they are the ones dominant. But definitely, Aghata has an edge because the Trinamool voters and the Congress voters, by and large, it seems that there should be division, that happens. But when it comes to Shillong, the veteran Vincent Pala, who was also a minister under Dr. Manmohan Singh, and one of the very popular businessmen. So against him today, this time Amperin Lingdo has come up, and as you rightly said, so it would be very interesting because they got into a fight when they were in the Congress. Now, how much of Mr. Sangma's influence and work, and you saw that UDP also has a candidate. So the Khasi votes might not necessarily go on one side; it might get divided. So who ultimately wins would be very interesting.
Well, the Khasi vote hold the crux of the matter, especially when it comes to how Tura would vote. Let me get once again Rupa Chandra in. A quick thought, especially on how national parties are going to gain, by all that they have, purely in this electoral battle, all that they have pitched in the Northeast.
Definitely, of course, there will be gains when you put in good works. People are looking towards parties that actually bring in real developmental steps in the Northeast. However, that said, there are local issues that, of course, conflict with those issues also. That's why you will find that BJP is tying up with a lot of local parties, because I think they know that developmental itself cannot bring in all the votes that it needs. So what it needs to do is also that it needs to tag along with the local parties, with the local sentiments, and with the local issues, which cannot be, brushed away.
Okay. Okay. I thank both gentlemen here, but I'll ask both of you to wait, till we take a look at this next story. The Great Indian Election is your one-stop show on weekdays on all that matters in Indian elections of 2024. What could be the state that could form a part of our deep dive on Friday night?
Regional parties call the shots in the Northeast. Will local issues play high over national issues? What are the issues that matter in Mizoram, Nagaland, Tripura and Manipur? On the Great Indian Election on Friday at 8:30 p.m. IST and 1500 hours GMT, only on DD India.
Well, our showstopper today is from the Northeast and the election state of Sikkim. The Election Commission of India urging voters to rise up and take charge of their right to vote to take this country forward. Remember, voting is not an option, but a duty.
निरंतर चलना है, हर कदम बढ़ाना है, प्रजातंत्र सींचना है, अधिकार छीनना है, एकता में कूद कर देश को संवारना है, एक नागरिक एक ही वोट, आओ ना, जागो ना, सब जागो ना, जागो ना, सब जागो ना, देश को संवारना है, सब जागो ना, देश को संवारना है, सब जागो ना.
Well, I was trying to squeeze in a question, but, running short of time here. That's all we have time for. But before I say goodbye to the viewers, let me thank the two guests who joined us this evening. Thank you, Shubhimal. Thank you, Rupchandra, for joining us all the way from the Northeast. Appreciate you joining us. Well, that's all we have time for in this edition of the Great Indian Elections. It's time for me to say goodbye from the studios in New Delhi. Thanks for watching. Do reach us on Facebook, Instagram, X. Our X or Twitter handle is @DD India Live. Good night, stay safe and take care.